Hey guys, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the UNSPV podcast. My name is Deanne, and I am so glad to have you guys here with me today. So let's get into the episode. So, a little life update. This past week has been pretty chill for me. I feel like I needed it. I love a chill week. I didn't have a lot of work to do. So I was just like hanging out, journaling, doing things that I like. And it was like pretty nice. Like I honestly needed it because the week before was a little stressful. I was interviewing, I was figuring out life, next steps. And I feel like when things are just thrown at me like that, I get really stressed out and overwhelmed because of it. So it's nice to kind of have that balance and have such a chill week after. So yeah, I kind of like to have that balance just because I can come back fully rested and better than ever. You know what I mean? Anywho, getting into today's episode, I did a Q&A thing on my story a while ago, and there's like one response that kind of stuck with me, and I just couldn't stop thinking about. Like, it's like one of those things where I think about, forget about, then think about again, then obsess over, because that's just the type of person that I am. So this person asked me about confidence and building self-esteem, and I've honestly talked about confidence before and putting yourself out there, and that's how you kind of build confidence. But I feel like this is in more of a different context because it's such a layered question, right? Because people see confidence and assume it's natural or you're born with it or whatever. But it took me so long to build that confidence, to build that self-worth. It was a very slow process. It was a very hard process to go through. And honestly, it had a lot more to do with how I saw myself rather than how I looked to other people. Because you can fake confidence, right? Like you can portray that really confident, cool person, but then you're gonna go home feeling like a fraud. You know what I'm saying? Like you're gonna feel bad about yourself after. So the key is internal confidence, and how do you build that, right? Because it does take time. Because when it comes to confidence, it's really just the belief that you are able and you are capable, while your self-esteem is the belief in your worth, right? And honestly, I kind of like to think of it as a double-edged sword, because when we're younger, it's so much easier feeling confident or being confident because we were raised in a system where we were getting validation from everybody around us, right? We were conditioned to kind of tie our confidence and our self-worth to external things. And I'm not going to say this for everybody, right? But I'm more of a general thing. There was always somebody keeping score, somebody rewarding us every step of the way, and we were just getting these like little dopamine hits every time somebody said like great job or whatever, giving you that gold star. And when we kind of like transition into adulthood, we kind of feel lost because suddenly nobody's keeping score, right? There's no one handing you that gold star, that trophy for all your accomplishments. And it's kind of like you're starting over. You have to rediscover what it means to be confident or what it means to feel worthy. And honestly, that's just something I had to sit with because I was the girl that tied a lot of her confidence and self-worth to her accomplishments, right? And I feel like I needed to prove myself constantly. Even when nobody was watching, I had to prove that I was capable. I had to prove that I was worthy. And honestly, it sucks to be the person that constantly needs to prove themselves to everybody else around them. And it becomes exhausting at some point because there's this constant pressure to fix every aspect of yourself, to constantly be working on being better, to keep it all together, to stay perfect, stay liked, stay accepted. You know what I mean? And we are our worst critics. So we constantly apply more and more pressure to be that perfect person or that polished person. It really sucks, you know what I mean? And if we don't call ourselves out or call that voice in the back of your head out, we're gonna be stuck in this constant loop of I'm not enough or I'll never be enough. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing is that you can come off as confident. You can be the most talkative person in the room. You can be the most put together person in the room and still not like yourself. And that's honestly due to that voice in the back of your head where you're constantly critiquing yourself in every aspect of your life because it's like, oh, you're not perfect yet. So that voice gets louder and louder, and you actually start to hate those parts of yourself. You start to end up putting yourself down more. And more importantly, you start to believe those things about yourself. And honestly, words mean nothing until you put meaning to it or tie an emotion to it. So once you start believing what you're saying and you believe all those negative things about you, then that's what's going to be portrayed. So the way that you see yourself is the way that the world will end up seeing you as well. So for me, I struggled a lot with social anxiety, social awkwardness, being the quiet person, kind of like a trifecta of that, and just lack of confidence in my ability to do things by myself. And it took me so long to kind of overcome these things because I sold this idea to myself, right? Like I packaged it in a pretty package and I was like, yeah, like this is the end all be all, like this is who you are. And I believed it for so long. Like I would even tell people, yeah, I'm socially awkward, or you know what I mean? Like it was like this concept of myself that I created with all my fears, and then I sold the idea to myself and it became a belief. And I believed for so long that I was socially awkward. I believed for so long that I was just a quiet person. I believed for so long that I'm unable to do things by myself, which sounds silly, but that's really just the way it works because I sold it to myself. It was a belief. I genuinely believed I was those things. And it's funny because that's the energy I came into the world with, and the world just responded to that energy. So it's kind of like a mirror, right? So it all starts internally, then it kind of bleeds into every part of your life. And when I say this, I don't just mean in the emotional sense. It also comes in a biological form, right? You are what you think you are, which you honestly probably heard a bajillion times in your life, but it's not just a cute phrase. It's literally how our brains work and our bodies operate, because every thought that you have sends out a signal, right? And your body responds. So if you're constantly thinking, I'm not good enough, your brain builds and strengthens that pathway over time, and it becomes your default. And your brain tends to wire itself to believe what you tell it most often. And it's not just your brain, right? Your body listens to you. So your brain will trigger your nervous system, and then your body will respond, right? It rises your cortisol, it changes your posture, it affects your voice, your sleep, your gut, your skin, your immune system, and your energy and motivation. Your body doesn't know the difference between I'm not safe and I'm not enough. Both of those will become the same thing. So to your nervous system, it all feels like a threat, right? And over time, it shifts to how every part of you functions, even down to each individual cell. So when I say that the whole point of it is to change your self-perception, it isn't just like a mindset shift or your mind working. It's really your whole body healing. And I'll be honest here, that critic in your head, that voice in your head is always going to be there. It's going to be pointing out every little thing that you did wrong, but it's really just up to you to tell it to shut up, right? You have to quiet it down. You have to be like, no, like I'm good. I'm like, we're human. We make mistakes. You know what I mean? And I know we hear all the time that we should love ourselves, we should appreciate ourselves, but what does that actually mean, right? Like, what does it mean to you? For me, it means giving myself the same grace that I give others. It means letting myself rest when I need to. It means accepting all of my imperfections and actually finding beauty in them. To love myself is to understand myself. To mean that being human means you're going to fall short sometimes, and that's okay. That it doesn't make you any less worthy. And I'll be honest, it's really hard to give yourself that type of grace, right? Because you want to push yourself, you want to be the best version of yourself. But understanding yourself and giving yourself that grace is really the first step of healing and actually becoming the better version of yourself. So being confident and having high self-esteem isn't something that you arrive at, and it's not like kind of a finish line. It's something that comes from a mix of self-understanding and self-love. Once you internalize that, then you begin to become it. So the way that we show up in this world is a direct mirror of what's happening inside of us. And honestly, one reason why I struggle so much with confidence and being able to talk positive about myself is I had this idea of I need to be humble. And it's such like a popular phrase, especially in our culture. But what does that actually mean, right? Like I had this idea that being humble meant that you need to downplay yourself. You need to maybe throw in like one or two negative things because you can't just be speaking about yourself in a positive light, you know what I mean? So I couldn't say that I was a smart person because I need to be humble. I need to humble myself, you know what I mean? Which kind of contradicts this whole idea of being confident, you know what I mean? I always thought that these two can never go hand in hand. But as I got older, I changed my definition of what it meant to be humble, and I changed what it meant to be confident and to have high self-esteem. So in order to be humble, in my previous definition of it, I was downplaying myself. I was shrinking myself a bit because I was like, I don't want to have a big head. And I was downplaying my ability to do anything. Like I would really pretend that I wasn't good at certain things because I didn't want to come off as a narcissist, or I didn't want to come off as having a superiority complex. And it was just like, okay, how do I be humble and how do I be confident at the same time? But once you realize that being humble means that you don't see yourself as a superior to anybody else, regardless of their background, regardless of their status, regardless of their success. A humble person doesn't need to be loud about their wins, not because they're ashamed, but because they don't need that kind of validation to feel worthy, because they have all this internal validation. They have that person in the back of their head clapping for them. You know what I mean? So they don't seek it from other people. Being a humble person is also knowing your strengths, but also knowing your weaknesses. And they're not afraid to ask for help when they need it. Being a humble person means that you're grounded. It means that you're real, but most importantly, that you're grateful. But let me clarify this. Being humble doesn't mean that you can't be competitive or strive for more. It just means that you don't let pride or arrogance lead the way. You don't feel the need to step on other people's toes in order to get ahead. Once you kind of understand that whole concept, you start showing yourself that same grace. And honestly, that's what makes somebody confident. You know what I mean? That's what I genuinely believe makes people confident. And honestly, like that's when I realized that being humble or humility in general doesn't cancel out confidence and high self-esteem. But it just kind of clarifies that self-love and self-understanding. And it really just helps you see yourself more clearly without the need or input of other people. And honestly, I feel like that's what it means to be grounded in who you are. You're not better than anybody, but you're not less than them either. And honestly, it all really just starts with talking well about yourself, speaking well about yourself, believing that you are a good person, believing that you are beautiful, believing that you are an intelligent person. You know what I mean? It all starts with how you perceive yourself. Because if you perceive yourself in a good light, then you'll start to believe that, and then you get to portray that into the world. And another thing I wanted to mention was the way that other people perceive you is not who you are. It doesn't actually define you. And this is going to sound crazy, but this is something that I've picked up on and noticed a lot in, let me just say, culture, right? So we're constantly told that everybody's beautiful, but then when you actually believe that you're beautiful, suddenly it's a problem. Suddenly you're cocky. Suddenly you're full of yourself. You know what I mean? Which honestly makes no sense to me and is the reason why I don't care, because people will always perceive you the way they want to. So you can't really win with everybody. So why even try? You know what I mean? If somebody out there thinks I'm a narcissist, whatever. I don't really care. If you want to think I'm a narcissist, sure. Do I think I'm a narcissist? No. So let me just say that it really matters what you believe about yourself and how you portray yourself into the world. And the way the world perceives you is honestly none of your business. You can't control that lens, you know what I mean? So just focus on your own lens, the way you see the world, the way you see yourself. And it's not a crime to think well of yourself. It's not a crime to think you're that girl, you know what I mean? So no matter what other people say, just keep doing you. So yeah, I genuinely believe that you can be confident and humble at the same time. You can be determined and still uncertain. Humility is what allows you to admit that there's a gap in your knowledge, and confidence is what allows you to trust that you'll find your way through it. So the main idea here is that you need to understand that you are enough, that there's always going to be room for growth, and you need to understand that it's not a crime to love yourself and to think well of yourself without the need to tear yourself apart in order to be humble. You know what I mean? Anywho, that is all I have for you guys today. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode because I enjoyed recording this one. So yeah, if you guys like this episode, please feel free to leave a comment and review. And if you like this podcast, make sure that you share it with your friends, family, share it on socials. And you can always tag me at Dance POV. And yeah, I hope you guys have a amazing rest of your day. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.